he walks over to the singer, David Draymond of Disturbed, and extends his hand while saying like, "Hey man, I'm sorry," something like that. And the guy grabs his hand and choke slams him on the stage. And so we're rotating. We're now 90 degrees to the crowd. I'm looking over my right shoulder at this sea of people as a gigantic brawl breaks out on the stage.
Welcome, everyone, to This Was The Scene, the podcast that takes a look back at the late 90s, early 2000 punk scene. I am your host, Mike Doyle. Before we start, check out my band Lanemeyer's shows in December. December 1st, we're playing a show at the Stanhope House in Stanhope, New Jersey. And we're opening for Midtown on December 3rd at Starland. Starland is sold out. You can find tickets on StubHub, but we have tickets still for the Stanhope House show. They are selling fast, so please buy them if you want to check it out. It'll be $15 pre-sale and $20 at the door, and it'll be a grand fucking time. Counterfeit were an emo band. I don't know if they want to be called an emo band, but they're pretty much to me an emo band from San Diego. Some of the releases they put out were On the Downside, From Finish to Starting Line, and Super Amusement Machine for Your Exciting Heart. That's basically all there is out there about these guys, but you can go to their Facebook page, which I'll have a link to the bio, and see a bunch of pictures. This is basically the only thing that's really documented about these guys, except for a DVD that they did. But yeah, so you'll get a lot of information when you listen to this interview. Thank you, Seth Hyman from Negative Progression Records. Check out his interview at episode 121. Thanks for connecting me with Marc, whom I got on the Skype, and this is what we chat about. How he knows Chris Barker from Lanemeyer's brother. No Knife. How was the San Diego scene for them? Negative Progression Records. What was the band's internal dynamic like? Scott from Blink. Touring a lot and being broke. Playing with the Mars Volta. The Starting Line accidentally giving them exposure. A string of bad luck. Playing drums for Finch, the San Diego band Prizefight, the Finch story, which is absolutely amazing, and a ton more. Check out his design company at marcallen.design. It's marcallen.design. I have a link in the show notes. And his band Helen Earth Band that he did after Counterfeit. There'll be another link, or you can just go to Spotify and just type out those 3 words and then it'll pop up. You can also buy their DVD if you have a DVD player. It's the documentary that he made about the band, and it's at youthconspiracy.bigcartel.com, or you just click the link in the bio. It'll take you there. I think he was kind of talking about maybe putting it on YouTube. So I think that the more people contact him and say you should do that, I think that might push him to actually accomplish this mission. Lastly, if you're looking for an explainer video, check out my company drive80.com, drive80.com. I do explainer videos, logo animations, and Instagram stickers. Instagram stickers are really for B2C businesses, or if you're a realtor, they are pretty popular with realtors. So check it out, drive80.com, or you can email me at mike@drive80.com. That's all I got to say, so feel free to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with anyone who would love some punk rock / emo nostalgia. With that said, let's get started. Before we start, how do you know Timmy Barker?
I was just going to ask you about Timmy Barker. That's so funny. I just met him through mutual friends out here on Maui. Just the other night, my buddy Dan from Counterfeit made a little last-minute trip out here, and we're sitting there in the kitchen, and Timmy was over with a bunch of other people, and and I mentioned that I was doing this, and it was, that your band was based in Jersey, and then we just got to talking, and he was like, "Oh shit."
That's so fucking random. So that night, Chris, his brother, who was in the band, or Lanemeyer with me, the band that we were in, he texts me. He's like, "You're interviewing someone from Hawaii." I've been setting up a bunch of interviews lately, so I was like, "It sounds familiar." He goes, "Yeah, this guy Marc," and I'm like searching my email and my phone with like MARK, and I was like, "Marc." I'm like, "Who the fuck am I?" And then I'm doing like a calendar search, and I'm spelling it wrong. I'm like, it sounds familiar. I'm like, all this sounds familiar, but my brain is just, it's so foggy from doing all bunch of shit. And then I spelled it the right way. I was like, "Oh yeah, the guy from Counterfeit." And it's the whole time, like, Chris is like, "Are you drunk?" I'm like, "No, I just don't know what you're fucking talking about." Yeah, that's super random.
World, man.
Yeah, Timmy, man, I've known him since he was like, 11 maybe. Yeah, he's a super cool dude. I think he just got engaged too, or you got
Yep.
married? Yeah. Okay. What do you guys? So what do you do down in Hawaii?
You mean for work?
Yeah, like what, I mean, a lot of people, I mean, I don't know, what's the what's the life like in Hawaii? Because I have a buddy who, I mean, Timmy, I know he was like living or he was working on boats and he would live down in Hawaii 6 months out of the year, then come up to Utah and snowboard and just live that life for a really long time. But he was like taking people on excursions or something like that. And then my other friend, he was a scuba instructor. So I just think that everyone who lives in Hawaii does something with the water.
Yeah, I mean, definitely outdoor lifestyle people for sure come out here a lot. There's people who surfing, there's a lot of wind, so a lot of kite surfing and windsurfing, and just getting outdoor and enjoying the beauty of nature.
Is that, I mean, because I think your website says, or your email said design, and I went to it. I was thinking you did like even though I'm asking you what you did down there, and I just remembered that your email said that. But on your website, it looks like you design like physical things?
I graphic design and branding. So I essentially, yeah, a lot of branding work, designing the look and feel of a business.
Well, cool, man. So the whole purpose of this podcast is talk about like the late 90s, early 2000s, and like that whole scene. So really, it's just this. What I try to do with any people that I'm talking to is find this like origin story about if it's a band, the beginning, the middle, and the end, or if they're still around, which has been rare. How they still do it to this day. If I do record producers, I talk about how they got into it and things like that. So with you, this is interesting because, like I said, I did live in San Diego for a hot minute from 2003 to 2004. And I think by that time you guys were already done, right? You disbanded in 2002?
2004.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. So we were there like around the same time. So I'll lead up to that. But so to start, and thank you to Seth from Negative Progression for connecting us. So just got to sneak that in there. All right. So to start off, like how I know it starts off in Connecticut. So how did you personally get involved in the scene?
I got into punk rock music super early because I have an older brother who was also in Counterfeit eventually. So I think I got into punk music when I was about 9. I remember listening to my brother's All tape. I think he got, I think it was All Roy Says. We were into skateboarding and stuff. So I was into all that stuff pretty young. I was in my first band, I think when I was 12. We played our first show when I was 12.
And that's playing drums.
Yes, playing drums. Me and just a bunch of friends who had older brothers, I think, is kind of how we got into that punk music stuff. And we really just kind of, I don't think we had the skills we all started playing instruments, picked up instruments, probably whatever we could manage at the time. I picked up the drums, I think, because my brother played guitar and he probably convinced me to play something different. I bet I wanted to copy him at the time, but he probably wanted to be able to jam in our basement. So I started playing drums, and me and a bunch of friends got together, and we were listening to, stuff like Descendants and Bad Religion and stuff like that, Circle Jerks. And we couldn't play anybody else's music, so we started writing our own. I had this neighbor guy who lived through the woods, not far from my house, and his name was Morgan Walker. Unfortunately, he's not around anymore, but he did like a lot of publishing and recording stuff. He actually recorded like a lot of reasonably known East Coast bands like Overcast and Boy Sets Fire. What else?
What was his name? I can like Google it right now too.
His name was Morgan Walker, but he had a publishing company called 800 Pound Gorilla Music. And so they did some bands like that, Voice of Reason, Dissolve. I don't know if you know any of those bands. Just a 14, which was Jamie Shanahan's band before Hatebreed, stuff like that. So anyway, he heard us playing in the basement through the woods, and I think approached my parents and was like, "Hey, these kids are pretty good for being 12."
Can I hang out with your 12-year-old?
yeah, a little. The parents were a little concerned because he was definitely like kind of a guy that would try to help out all the misfit kids and the kids that were having trouble and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
I never heard of anything inappropriate happening, but yeah, it was a little weird that he was hanging out with a bunch of kids. He helped us get a show at a nightclub or a bar or whatever it was. Pretty sure we just played to our parents and the other bands, but I think that the first show that I played was like, I never went to a concert before I played a show, I don't think, other than like a town fair or something like that.
What drummers, this can be a hard question to answer because you're 12 years old at the time, but was there a drummer that stood out to you from the punk bands that you were like, I have to be like this person?
Let's see. When I was first playing on pillows on my couch before I got a drum kit, I don't know that I was playing to that much punk at that time. I think I was playing to like old Metallica and old Faith No More and stuff like that. When I first got the kit, yeah, I mean that 1-2 fast beat was pretty much manageable for me at the time. I think that we were listening to Descendants, All, Circle Jerks, Bad Religion, Op Ivy. I was super into Green Day. That was all the stuff I wanted to play. I don't think I was quite that fast yet.
How like technical were you at, in that age from like 12, and just fast forward just a second, like when does Counterfeit form? How old are you then?
Probably, how old was I? 17, maybe?
So you got 5 years there. In that time leading up to it, did you find that you became more technical? Were you practicing a lot, like trying to mimic any drummers and their styles?
Yeah, let me think about that. Because, at that age, your musical journey is so all over the place. I remember just hoovering music, like I was like super into the punk rock thing. Then grunge happened right in the middle of that when I was in junior high. And so I think I kind of put a lot of the punk music I was listening to on the shelf in lieu of Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Tool and all that stuff that was going on as well. So I think having started playing a bunch of fast punk stuff and then moving into music that was maybe more that had more of a pop song structure, from when I was 12 to about 15, 16 years old, that's where I got my education in playing drums. So it's hard to point to any particular drummers. My brother was in a band and he was playing with this guy Mike, not any noteworthy band, but I remember really being into his drumming, and he was listening to metal music. Overcast, the drummer of Overcast, I don't know his name, unfortunately. I was real influenced by it. Was the people that were super technical, where every bar there was a surprise happening. So I was really in awe of that type of stuff because it started out like my attention span's pretty bad, and I think the fast music would keep my attention, because everything was moving a mile a minute. And then as time went on, I really got kind of hooked into the more technical stuff, the stuff that had stops and starts and changes in tempo or odd time signatures.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're like trying to keep your attention, anything more technical is gonna keep you there instead of just like a fat records beat the whole time.
Exactly. I think at some point in high school when I was 15 or 16, probably like 96, 97, at that point my brother had moved out to San Diego and he had a band, and his band practiced next door to No Knife.
Oh shit.
And I had gone out while I was in high school to visit him, and so I got the No Knife CD. It was I got Drunk on the Moon and Hitman Dreams from No Knife, and at that point that kind of cracked my head open because that band was such an interesting mix of post-punk and pop music.
Yeah. So fucking technical too.
Yeah, super technical and angular, and but super melodic. The way they played with melody was awesome as well. So that definitely changed things for me.
So do you like, are you getting this? Because I know the band starts in Connecticut and then you guys move to San Diego. So what's the time period here when this is happening where you go to visit and get that No Knife CDs?
I would have to look at the times when those albums were released, but I probably 96, 97. And I'd actually formed like a punk version of the band Counterfeit back when the word was spelled correctly. And we got a cease and desist and had to change the spelling.
Actually, real quick, I had a theory about the name because I had told someone, I never tell anybody, somebody wanted to sponsor an episode, and they're like, "Do you know that they spelled the name wrong?" I was like, "Yeah," but I was like, I was like, my theory is they sold it wrong, or they spelled it wrong because they were trying to maybe not fit in, so they were like counterfeiting, and then the double entendre was that they spelled the name wrong. So I was like, I'm gonna ask this, but it sounds like I was wrong.
Oh, I wish there were more meaning to it. I have a long-standing history of being in bands with really bad band names, and band names that are not only bad but like probably detrimental to the success of the band.
Just give me one really shit name that you had.
Well, after Counterfeit, we had a band called Helen Earth Band, which sounds like Hell on Earth Band, but it's the name Helen.
Hmm.
It ends up sounding like it sounds like it's a 70s like psychedelic rock band or something like that. I don't know. I think at the time it was a reactive thing, and we just didn't want to have another kind of emo band name. Everybody had a month or a season or or
Yeah.
something in their name. So it was a reaction to that. But then, when you say it aloud, people go, "Oh, it's really hard to track what somebody's saying." And I think that was probably an issue.
So then Counterfeit was just because you were going to get sued by the band who spelled it correctly.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah, I
so
think it's
funny. Like, what are you guys, fucking 17 years old? And so I love when people throw around lawsuits when you're like just teenagers yelling at other teenagers. You're like, really? Where are you gonna get the fucking money to do this?
exactly. I think we probably got the message via like MySpace or something like that.
Yeah.
Real, yeah, real official.
So how does the band start?
So we had this punk rock version of the band at the end of high school. It was just me and a bunch of skater friends, but around 1999, I'd always planned to move out to San Diego to play music with my brother. I had convinced a couple of the guys to go with me and start the band with my brother to kind of reform it out there. And within a couple months of us leaving to drive out to San Diego, our singer at the time, this guy Will, he got sent off to like a wilderness rehab camp, like Outward Bound, or I don't remember what they were called. And he just kind of disappeared, and his family wouldn't let him. We couldn't get in contact with him, and they wouldn't tell us where he was exactly. And around that same time, I had this buddy Justin who was in a hardcore band in the area, and he was a singer, and he could play guitar and bass. And he was always bugging me all the time, like, "Dude, let me join your band. Kick out your singer. Let me join your band." And he was really good and super charismatic guy. And so when Will got sent away, we asked Justin to kind of step in, and our bass player wasn't moving out either, and he could play bass as well, and that'd be one less person in the band to have to get along with, which, as you know, is they're all the inner band politics, and so less
Yep.
people is probably a little easier to manage. So
Yeah.
we decided to do that. And me and our guitar player James and our singer Justin, we moved out, drove out, and my brother was going to play the other guitar. So
So you guys just decided to, had you played any shows in Connecticut?
we played 2 shows after Justin joined the band. They were awesome shows. One was with Saves the Day and Hot Rod Circuit, I think. And then the other one, I wrote it down. I should be able to find it. I have the worst memory. So when we talked about doing this, I had to like take a serious trip down memory lane and like make some notes for myself.
Yeah, I've had a couple people do that where it's weird. Sometimes questions will unlock these things where you're like, man, I haven't thought about that in so long.
Yeah, I think the other show was with Boy Sets Fire.
Your first 2 shows, those were the shows that you guys played.
Exactly. Those were the only Connecticut shows we played until before we moved to San Diego.
You're like, that's it. We've made it. Let's go to San Diego. It's in our favor.
Exactly, setting the bar real high.
Yeah. So when you guys go to San Diego, where in San Diego did you move to?
You remember where Fry's was? I'm
Yeah,
trying to think of what that area is called.
like Mission Valley.
Yeah, I guess so.
I worked at the P.F. Chang's in that mall.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it sucked.
That's awesome. I bet. I bet. Yeah, so we were down there. Me and Justin lived together, and then eventually my brother moved in as well. The plan was always to go like 100% music. So we were just like had odd jobs. We would get people to hire us between tours, and when we knew we were going to leave in a month, we were sleeping on floors. Just not much of a permanent residence.
So you guys get out there and right away, because I see on Discogs, you have a demo, not on a label, it's just released, and then you have On the Downside, and then From Finish to Starting Line was your first LP, which is on Negative Progression. So, right? Is that like the order?
Yeah, yeah. We had
Okay.
recorded that demo actually in Connecticut right before we left. I think I just played my brother's guitar parts just so we would have something, because I had like a little basement, like a little studio with a Tascam 488 Porta Studio. And so we recorded that, and then when we got out, we wanted to do something again real quick to get my brother on it. I guess this will help. When we got to San Diego, we had met a couple of guys at some local shows that ran a booking agency, and we made quick friends with them. And then it was kind of amazing because there were only a few bands kind of in the vicinity of what we were doing, and we would all just get rotated on on all of for opening spots on all the touring bands that would come through, and it was pretty awesome. So they would be like, there was this band Spare Change. Okay, you're playing with Elliot, and Counterfeit, you're playing with Saves the Day, Newfound Glory. We were just getting rotated, so it was pretty awesome in San Diego. And
Which venue was this at? Was this at like Sona?
it was mostly at the Epicenter in Mira Mesa and at the Che Cafe.
Okay, Epicenter. I was just talking to the Gadgets and we played a show with them out there. It was the Epicenter and it was kind of like a student center, it looked like.
Yeah, exactly, like a teen center.
Yeah, dude, I remember playing that. Holy shit.
It was interesting because when we got out to San Diego, we were really into bands that were maybe had a lot more indie cred. They were doing less of a punk rock thing than we were doing, like, Drive Like Jehu, A Miniature, Tanner, No Knife, Pinback, 3 Mile Pilot, all those bands. I think really we wanted to be playing with those bands, but we were definitely kind of got more in with a punk crowd early on, like a bunch of the Poway punk bands that were kind of on the heels of like Unwritten Law and Blink and all that stuff. So
How long were you there before you got signed to Alphabet Records?
oh yeah, thank you. You getting me back on track. One of the booking agent guys, one of the guys that ran this booking agency, LPT1, also had that Alphabet Records label. And so pretty early on, he offered to do an EP for us, which we recorded badly ourselves. We actually mixed it at the Epicenter on their live board.
Oh, wow.
So that was real soon after. I think that came out in 2000.
What's going on with the band at this point? Because you guys form in what year again?
Probably 97, 98.
All right, so 97, and then you're out in San Diego in 99, 2000?
Yeah, I mean, we might as well just say in 1999 is when we got out, and we can call it Counterfeit from there on, because those 2 Connecticut shows were in 99 as well.
Okay. I just remember San Diego being a real pain in the ass scene to get recognition in. Maybe it was just the part of the scene that I was in. I would hang out, like I think I emailed you about this. I would hang out, and this is July 2003, and I moved out of San Diego in March 2004. And we would go to Scolari's, which is I think on University. Remember you said you went there? And
Yeah.
there was kind of like this beer punk crowd that would go there, and it was like you could not impress these fucking people for anything. And they would have shows at Scolari's. They'd be at the Ken Club. They'd be at the Cherry Bomb. Did you guys ever play Cherry Bomb? It's this tiny little dive bar.
I don't think we played Cherry Bomb. We definitely played the Ken Club.
There was another one in downtown too that's pretty famous. It's on like 2nd Street or
Oh, the Casbah?
Casbah. Yeah, that
Oh,
place
yeah, we
was
played
dope.
the Casbah a lot.
Yeah, I was living like probably 4 blocks from there in downtown.
Nice.
Yeah, I was a block from Cherry Bomb. That's how I remembered it. But I just remember that it was a really hard scene to crack, it felt like. But what was your take on that?
I think all ages was awesome. It was much easier. But the bar scene, I agree, was really tough. Bands like Pinback and Blackheart Procession and 3 Mile Pilot and stuff like that. That went off great. But yeah, I agree. The bar scene, that 21 and up scene, was a lot harder in San Diego.
Yeah, that was it. It was the 21 and up crowd that was really hard to like get them to give a shit.
So you were playing in San Diego when you were out there as well?
So do you remember John Cougar Concentration Camp?
Yes.
So Mike, their drummer, he was kind of just not putz around. He was jumping around in some bands, and then my buddy James, we called him Wank, like he was just playing guitar, and this guy Corey, he was in a band that was kind of known, and I forget the name of it. And we were all just drinking one night at some party, and I'd moved out there because I'd broke up with my band, and we broke up, and I was like, I want to play music again. So we had started a kind of like a project, and it was fun. Like we did like a Jawbreaker cover, and then I had a bunch of originals. So we would play some shows. We played Ken Club, we played Cherry Bomb, but it was like very short lived because I like left there. So I got like to see, like we played with, and I'm not talking about me the whole time, but like there was a band called Kolob. Did you ever hear of them?
It sounds really familiar.
They had like a Jug, this guy Juggy was in it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So like Juggy, and then the guy Jeff was, I think they're guitarist or something, or I forget what he did, or played like the cowbell or some shit, and he was in this band called the Mexico City Rollers.
Not familiar with that one.
It was literally this tiny scene that was in the 21 and up crowd that would play around, but people would just show up, get hammered, and watch these bands. So we would try to play that, but I think what would have benefited us more, because I did go to a show at Sona, and I think it was the Used. I think they had played there, and I saw it. And I was like, oh wow, there's this whole other scene here that's I haven't even I didn't even realize was here.
Yeah, and it was kind of blowing up around that time. There was Soma and there was The Scene was another pretty large venue. I think it was like an 800 cap or something like that. And that might have been in like Sereno Valley or Mira Mesa area. I can't quite remember exactly where it was.
So how do you guys like? Do you guys start to get like a following around this time, like shortly after you guys moved there?
Yeah, early on, as I mentioned, we were playing with like a bunch of punk bands that were playing pretty straightforward punk. So when we would play, we were still playing some fast songs and such, but it was definitely more kind of mathy and angular than what any of those bands were doing. And I think people were really they weren't used to hearing any of that. Yeah, we were getting received really well from the start, which was awesome. And then when we met the guys from that booking agency, it was even better because we were getting all these great local shows. And I think probably through doing some of the larger local shows, I don't know how Seth from Negative Progression heard about us. It might have been through MySpace too, because around that time, you remember mp3.com?
Yeah,
Yeah, that stuff was huge.
Pure Volume was going on.
hmm Yeah, I think maybe, but I'm thinking earlier, like 2000 was when mp3.com maybe was just starting out. And there were like, I remember being on there and seeing this band Further Seems Forever was a new band.
Oh wow.
And this band X Number 5 was a cool band that was on there. But there were only a few bands that were kind of anything like us that we shared a genre with. I don't know, maybe Seth heard it through the online account or something.
So did he reach out to you guys and say, I want to put out your CD?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to the other guys in the band asking if they could remember exactly how he reached out originally. We had been sending demos out everywhere.
Like who'd you send to?
The aspirational ones like Jade Tree and stuff like that. We sent a demo to Lobster Records because I was
Hmm.
super into Mock Orange. They were the only ones that ever wrote us a letter back.
Oh
It
wow.
was pretty brutal. They were like, "Your songs are pretty cool, but we think you can do. We have it in you. You have it in you to write much better songs, and also we prefer a much smoother approach to vocals."
Oh
I
wow.
remember that. I remember Justin was feeling pretty bad about that. It was like just vague enough to be like, you guys don't have it yet, but work a little bit harder and you'll get there. So I think maybe Seth reached out via MySpace or something online, and he was a super nice guy. We didn't really know any of the bands on his label, but he had done this oldies but goodies comp. I don't know if you ever heard that.
Yeah. He because I interviewed Seth and I believe he talked about that. It's been a minute since I talked to him.
I had that comp when I was younger. So since I had something, I was like, all right, that's awesome. And we checked out his band Over It, that band that he signed. They were pretty cool. At the same time, we were kind of moving away from that Forbidden Beat skate punk type of sound. And we were trying to move towards definitely a more post-punk, post-hardcore type of thing. So we weren't sure about the fit, but it was the only offer we had at the time. Like I said, Seth was super eager and super nice and kind. So we decided to go with it.
So basically, like that, and that's the album from finish to starting line.
Yeah, that was just an EP. I'm pretty sure that the first thing that he did is got us into the studio, yeah, to do that EP.
Did you guys record out in San Diego?
Yeah, there's this studio called Big Fish Recording. Have you ever heard of it?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
It's where No Knife did a lot of their stuff. Jimmy Eat World, Static Prevails. Mark Trombino was kind of the original engineer there.
Oh, okay.
So he had done a lot of kind of older San Diego recordings. And at that point, he had moved on and gone up to LA. And this guy, Ben Moore, had taken over as the studio engineer. But anyway, so many San Diego records that we were super into had been done there. So that's where we decided to do it. Had a great live room.
What was like the dynamic like in the band at this point?
Musically or personally?
Personally, like, did you guys get along? Was there like a battle when you're writing songs? Like, what was that like? Was it easy going?
Yeah, it was an interesting dynamic.
That sounds like
We
a good
came from a
answer.
spot, yeah, we came from a spot where I had started writing pretty much all the majority of the music and the lyrics as well. Me and my buddy James were doing all of that. Then when we got out and my brother joined the band, he writes a lot. So then it was primarily my brother Adam and I, writing most of the music. and the lyrics as well. And I think that was weird for our singer Justin. He had come in late, and so he's singing our words. He was like the charismatic front man. So that was the dynamic at first musically, and I think that might inform you about things personally. I think we were all pretty happy at the moment, but that dynamic started to weigh on us over time.
I mean, did he, like when he's singing, I don't know what it's like to sing other people's lyrics, but I can imagine either you just don't give a shit or it's just weird.
Yeah, I think it was probably pretty awkward for him.
What were the songs about, real quick, before maybe this will paint a picture on why? Were they about like relationships? Were they about just like nothing?
Yeah, some of mine were about relationships. My brother was already also writing lyrics, so Justin was actually singing lyrics from two different perspectives. And my brother's lyrics were more cryptic. So I think we were just operating on kind of eagerness and raw energy. And I don't know that the creative voice was very focused at that point.
I was gonna say, because it sounds like some bands, they have a direct focus on. I talk about this a lot. Like sometimes they have a mission statement of we're here to do this. Like Rise Against, they're out there to just be political. Like Rage Against the Machine, just very obviously political. Weaker Than's, I don't really know what his statement. It's like he's very vegan, but he's also just writes this poetry and shit. It's like some bands just have this center point where you can see where they're coming from, and then other bands they're just like, we just want to tour, we just want to play, we're gonna write some songs that's gonna help us, then we're gonna get out there, and it doesn't really matter.
We were very focused on melody and music and timing and all of the instrumental aspects of the music. Lyrically, I think lyrics were always less important to me at the time. I think I have a bit of a audio processing disorder.
What was that?
It just means that it takes me longer to process words that I hear and understand the meaning. So when I listen to music, because I'm hearing the music and it's really catching my attention, I don't really listen to the words until many, many times through. And now I make it a point to listen to them. But I think at that point, I was way less concerned with music or the words and the message than I was in writing great melody and music that felt exciting and kept your attention and was fun to play.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of do that too. I almost like not really knowing the lyrics of songs. Even like, I swear to God, the other day, this sounds really lame, but I was listening to Smells Like Teen Spirit, and the first line of the song, there was a thing on TikTok where someone separated his vocals from the lyrics, and I was like, I'm listening to the first line, I was like, oh my God, I've had it wrong this entire time. But I didn't want to, I didn't want to have it wrong because I don't mind having it just be my own thing, because it's almost like when you read a book, you imagine what the visuals are, but when you see the movie, you hate it because it's not what your brain told you it was.
Yeah.
So I feel like sometimes, like in that sense, the lyric thing it could kind of work for you if you're listening, maybe not so much when you're writing.
Yeah, there really are so many different facets to music and things that you could enjoy. And it just wasn't, music was, I prioritized over the words at that time. I'm not, I can't speak for my brother, but that's definitely where I was coming from.
Well, it's a weird, did anyone, this is such a stretch in a question, but did anyone question that the drummer was writing lyrics?
No. I mean, from the band?
No, like outside perspective, or maybe someone was like, "Oh, the drummer's writing lyrics." You're like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, that's interesting."
Not that I can recall, but we didn't get that question very often, and we definitely didn't do like a lot of press or anything like that. I think our dynamic was like, I'll go with the Van Halen reference. Like you had two brothers that were doing a lot of the majority of the writing, and then we had this really awesome, charismatic singer front man. And he was really the one who got the majority of the attention. And me and my brother didn't really want that attention. We're pretty uncomfortable with the spotlight. And so I think we were okay with it being that way for a long time. I think we were always okay with it. It's just after a while, understandably, Justin wanted to sing his own words. And so he started writing a lot more lyrics at that point.
So before we get there, when you guys start going on tour, basically you guys get on Negative Progression in 2000, let's see, it says 2001. From Finish the Starting Line comes out as an EP, and then a couple years later you guys break up. Which year did you say it was?
2004.
2004. Okay.
December.
So you got 3 years in between now and the breaking up. So what happens? Like, how many tours do you guys go on? What happens with the band?
We toured a ton. That first year in 2001, right after doing the EP, We left before the EP was even out, but I think he let us have early copies. We did 2 or 3 full US tours. No, 2 full US tours that year, a stint on the Warped Tour and a Southwest tour with Mock Orange. So we were on tour a lot that year. Just went out and just hammered it.
Wait, you said earlier that you wanted to get on Lobster because of Mock Orange, so that's crazy that you got to tour with them.
Yeah, we were really stoked. We looked up to them. You know, they were kind of coming off the heels of Braid, that sound, and it was just kind of like Hey Mercedes did. It was like a super cleaned up, super tight version of that math rock thing. I was super into it. Yeah.
Were you like super stoked though because you were like we wanted to get on this label because of this band, then all of a sudden it's presented to you to be on a tour with them. So was it you reaching out to them or did they reach out to you to go on a tour?
You know, I think Seth might have helped us hook that up. I'm not sure. We had made a lot of friends with the Lobster guys. I think via Warped Tour, there was this band called Staring Back that was on there. Their guitar player Ryan moved on to be in Yellow Card now.
Like Ryan, the singer Ryan?
No, different Ryan. His name's Ryan Mendez.
Okay.
But yeah, we made friends with a lot of the bands, a few of the bands on Lobster, and the Over It guys from our label were friends with them. And I think somehow through getting a rapport with the owner of that label, and Seth also had been in contact. You know, I don't know how it came about, but yeah, we were super stoked to play shows with them. Really stoked.
So you guys would basically go out and come home and then soon after go back out again, just like continuously.
Yeah, we were just coming home. Like I said, if there was enough time to get a job, we would, but usually just sleeping on couches, sleeping on friends' floors. We were 100% in.
Like, how big did you guys want to get?
That's a really interesting part of the conversation is, like I mentioned, we looked up to all these bands that I think a lot of kind of those indie emo bands, you know, you have an aspiration to write the best music that you can write and play great shows. You want a full room. But I don't know that we were thinking really clearly about what the destination would look like if we did get bigger. And not to jump too far ahead, but I think towards the end, especially when we did this tour with Finch and Recover, we found ourselves playing to these nice big full rooms to a crowd that felt uncomfortable for us. And I think a lot of bands that live somewhere within a similar genre as us, and at that time experienced similar things. Like, you know, No Knife got taken out on a million great tours. They went out with Jimmy Eat World. I think they went out with Sunny Day Real Estate, but there was something about it that just didn't quite click or fit for them. And I know for us, like, we definitely were super eager and put 100% of our energy into doing well, but I don't know if we wanted to be, you know, with the bands that were getting big at the time looked like, you know, Thursday or I don't know. When was that? Like 2004? Does that sound about right? Those bands were getting big around then?
Yeah, I was going to ask you because that shift from the late 90s and the 2000s, the scene goes in a different direction. So you guys are right there in that switch. I was looking at some videos and photos, and it looked like you guys just kind of encompassed what was going on with the fashion, and you know, I would say like musically, it sounds like you guys would stayed in your own lane instead of trying to mesh with all those other bands and try to make like a facade, I guess. You know, like a lot of bands were just kind of just doing that because they saw there was popularity to be had and they wanted to grab from the money pile, I guess, or whatever that was going on. You like, do you know like the bands I'm talking about that were they just were a pain in the fucking ass, and you were like, you suck.
Yeah,
You're like,
I
you're
think
clearly doing this for the reasons of just you see there's opportunity that's easy to grab right now. So you're just getting a band because you're like, ooh, let's ride this wave. But other people are like, we were doing this thing before these shit bands came in. And I sound really negative right now, but it's me talking as like an 18-year-old, like not like I give a fuck now. But you know, like some bands are in it where they're like, yeah, we rode that wave, or some bands are sitting in this mix of just going, what the fuck are we surrounded by right now?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. When things really started gaining momentum in that scene, and when you were hearing about bands getting signed for $1 million or something like that, I definitely noticed a lot of those bands kind of getting formed, and with those aspirations of being like a big pop emo band or screamo band, whatever you want to call it. Since we were kind of in this awkward spot before that scene started growing really big, before Vagrant was getting real big and all that. I don't know, that was a sweet spot for about a year and a half, where we were going out and we were playing with bands that sounded nothing like us. There were like your very kind of traditional Deep Elm super emo bands,
Yeah.
and then there were a lot of pop punk bands, and we were kind of sitting right in between the two, so we could play with either and kind of bring something interesting to the show. And so things were feeling really comfortable and good for that first year. We were out touring and everything was well received. Sorry, I'm getting a little off track here, but
No, you're not. You're going in a good direction.
I think as the scene really started to pick up, we were also, the thing worth mentioning on the side here is, again, we're still young. All of our musical tastes are going in all sorts of different directions. So as we're putting in all these efforts, I think each person in the band had a different idea of the direction that they wanted to stretch in. And our singer was definitely, I feel like he was already listening to, the Blood Brothers and more extreme kind of fringe
Like
things.
the Locust and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, and like I said, he's a real cool cat. So he was rubbing elbows with all the cool San Diego people in town, friends with the guys from No Knife and yada yada. But he was never willing to like sacrifice the cred to like bring us into the fold.
What do you mean?
Like he hung out with all those bands, but we weren't included in there. I think he was in there socially, but he for one reason or another, our band wasn't really able to get into that San Diego 21 and up kind of way cooler indie cred scene, and I think that's what we all liked and listened to, but our band couldn't be there. We were still carrying more of that pop punk thing going on.
When Seth connected us, he touts his best bands. He's got like Over It, and he had like a list that he connected us with the email, but he has you guys in like the top. Does that mean that you guys, like, for being one of his well-known bands or whatever, is that like, how does I'm trying to think of like, why is it that you were a well-known band? Did you sell a lot of CDs? Did you guys pack a lot of rooms? Like what was that perspective for you for being that?
We did sell a lot of CDs and sold a lot of demos, and people were just coming back to the shows over and over again, all the local shows, and we were filling up the rooms. And so maybe you caught wind of that, I'm not sure. But San Diego, yeah, for a hometown for us, was always so kind to us.
Did you guys ever pack? Was it Soma or Sona?
Soma with an M as in Mary.
Yeah, okay. And it wasn't like Scott from Blink-182. Isn't he the one who like opened that, or he would help run it?
Mm, I didn't know he was involved with that. I remember playing a show with his band, the Redliners, which he had after Blink, and he ended up getting replaced in that band from Jorma Vic.
Wait, Scott joined the Bronx?
No. The guy who replaced Scott in that band joined the Bronx.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
God, that poor guy. He just gets.
Yeah.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, it was rough.
I had heard some rumor that he was involved with Soma and did really positive stuff. Like he was really involved with like getting, like really involved in the scene, really involved with like helping like kids in need or something like that. It sounded like he did a lot of good stuff, but it was kind of it seemed like he was a kind of a underground kind of guy. Like he wasn't like Marc or Tom, where they were just outlandish and just in your face. Not in your face, but just like would go to the camera. It sounds like he was kind of like an introvert almost in a sense, but did like good stuff.
Yeah, I got that sense as well. I remember when we moved out, I had met a friend of ours had dated him and spoke very highly of him as being a kind guy. But yeah, definitely didn't want to be in the spotlight from what I heard as well. But that's cool to hear he was doing good things for the scene. There were a lot of amazing scene advocates in San Diego, and I think that's why it was thriving at the time.
Yeah, Soma was a cool spot. It was this big venue. And did you guys ever play like a huge show there?
The last show of that Finch Recover show tour was in the large room, and that show was sold out. That was pretty amazing. I don't know if we ever played the small room. They had like that side room. It was like an old movie theater room with the slanted floor.
Oh yeah. I don't think I ever saw a show there, but I think when I went to the show that I went to, I saw that room or something, but I was in the big room. That was where I was at. I think I remember too. This is super random, but I think I remember seeing. I remember the artwork when I was doing some research on you guys, and for the first CD, the EP that was on Negative Progression, and I think I remember like someone had that in San Diego back then, and I don't know. It just like triggered this memory. I'm like, oh, I remember these guys. Like I remember them as a San Diego band back then, because I think it was one of those where it was, again, go back in the beginning. It was that scene was such a pain in the ass to like impress when someone was representing a local band. I was like, oh, they must be really good because you guys hate everybody. Like that collab band, they never really did anything, but people would like praise them. I was like, these guys are just drunk and playing random shit. I don't understand why this is the band right now.
It's very interesting. I definitely saw that band for sure. And I don't remember. It might have been Scolari's office. It was actually like a bar that had a little outdoor area, maybe, or like a little courtyard.
Yeah, Scolars had a back courtyard in the back.
Okay,
Yeah,
that might have been what it was.
yeah, Scolars is a dope bar. You'd walk in, the bar was right on your right hand side.
I, I definitely saw a guy on his birthday, try to take a flaming shot, and he thought he blew it out, and he didn't. And then he took the shot and he poured it on his face, and his face caught on fire.
Oh my God.
It was crazy, man.
That sounds about right.
I was sitting next to him, and I was like, "Dude, your face is on fire." It was crazy.
Holy God, that sounds about right. Like that was the crowd that went there. There was this guy who was a singer of this band. I forget what band he was in, but his name was David. And when we would do punk rock karaoke on Wednesdays, I think it was $12 or $5 or $8, something ridiculous for a pitcher of beer. So everyone would sit around holding a pitcher and drinking out of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and get destroyed. And then we would do karaoke, and it was just amazing. But this guy David something, he would like break glass and like cut himself, and we're like, dude, this is karaoke. What are you doing?
Whoa.
Yeah, it was amazing. That's such a weird crowd. I think everyone listening, I know like I keep just digging into the San Diego thing, but just really bringing back my own memories. So I'm just like living in this for me basically right now, because it was such
Great, man. I'm here for it.
Yeah, it was such a dope time when I was living out there, even though I sound like I'm shitting on it. It was basically where like I figured out what I wanted to do, because I was like, I just can't be working at P.F. Chang's anymore. San Diego was such a cool place, and it's so expensive that I need to be able to make money. Because San Diego is expensive as shit. Was that like adding any pressure on you guys as a band?
It was, like I mentioned, Seth wanted us to go out right away. He couldn't offer a lot of monetary support. There wasn't any tour support or anything like that, but he was really helpful early on in booking us tours or getting us opening spots on tours. But that being said, it's not like we were coming home with any significant amount of money. Sometimes we were probably in the hole. And so when we got home, I remember staying in a friend's room at San Diego State until they kicked me out. It was that type of thing where like you would just wear out your welcome. It was really hard because a lot of the times, like I said, we wouldn't have time to get a job, and we had no money. It was straight up pretty much homeless. And I had a really bad car the transmission would overheat, and it was on its last legs. It was tough times. So we preferred being out on the road at that point as much as possible.
I really like for people to hear this, because I think a lot of people listen to podcasts like this, they don't know that lifestyle of a band. I would say every band that I talk to talks about how fucking hard it is to just do this, but you just stupidly get in a van and go and just be like, it's gonna just work itself out, because I just want to be on the road. And when I see people nowadays there's a Facebook group that I'm in that's focused on Jersey, and someone posted a while ago just like bitching about a ticket price, and I'm like, motherfuckers, like you don't realize how hard it is. If they're gonna charge $20 or $25 for a show, like the club's taking some of that. There are clubs also taking now their merch money, like pieces of percentages of their merch money and stuff. Like bands really don't have it easy on the road.
Yeah. I definitely, when I was kind of going back through my memories, I was trying to think of like when when did we ever get a guarantee?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that it was only 2 tours that we ever did that we got a guarantee. We did a cross Canada tour with that band Monine, or most people say Monine, but
Oh,
they say
Monine.
Monine.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Monine. I was gonna say, I was like, who's Monine?
I think we got a small guarantee on that, and then that Finch Recover tour we got a small guarantee on. But otherwise, it was always percentage of the door. And yeah, I agree, man. When they would take percentage of your merch, make you do merch count, it was so painful.
Yeah, I didn't have to live through that experience.
That was like we survived on merch sales. That was always our gas money. And fortunately, we did pretty well. As if there were people in the room, we did pretty well, enough to get us to the next place, you know. But like you said, it was really tough. And yeah, you see people talking about. I've seen some people do videos more recently about how much it costs to tour, and there are a lot of people coming from a DIY ethic who are kind of shitting on whether or not the band got hotel rooms or motel rooms, or what kind of meals they were splurging on.
Oh, dude, fuck those people. Those fucking morons who have a job where they're making whatever a year, 9 to 5. It's like, you stupid pieces of shit. Like, when you live it, then you can comment. Or even if you do live it, like, just shut the fuck up. I can't stand those assholes. I just cannot stand them at all.
It's to have a little bit of comfort every 2 weeks or something like that. There would just be those nights where you would have the worst show, or had done like through the night drives to get to the next place because you couldn't book anything in between, or you were like Colorado, Utah area, and you're just driving through mountains. And like, you just want to be able to eat a hot meal and maybe sleep in a bed. And there would be those shows where nobody would be there. Like a lot of nights we're asking if anybody's got a floor we can stay on over the mic during our set. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes there'd be nobody there. And so, you gotta, I don't know. We met a lot of bands that were very good at really roughing it, and they would pull over at campgrounds, and all they have with them is a chamois to dry themselves off, and like bathe them with hoses and stuff. Like, and I got a lot of respect for that. But it's also a skill, and you kind of need to know what you're doing, and it takes a long time for you to kind of fine tune survival out on the road.
I mean, there's bands out there that'll buy deli meat and sandwich and bread and things like that, and they'll save a lot of money by making sandwiches. And we tried it, like, as bands will try that stuff, but there's about after 5 days of doing that, you're like, okay, like, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, I need Taco
Yeah,
Bell or something else that's gonna
exactly.
be a different flavor profile than this awful shit. I saw that you guys played with Mars Volta. Was that a show, or did you do like a little small tiny run with them?
That was just a home San Diego show. That was awesome, though. That was
Wow.
very cool.
What was that? That was when they had their first CD.
Yes.
Oh my God. That was like when it was good Mars Volta.
Oh, yeah. Super intimidating. Like, just a level of musicianship that is incredible.
Did you guys, I'm guessing you guys open, or were they early enough where they were opening for you?
Oh, no, no, no. I'm sure we opened for them. Usually those shows at the Epicenter, I mean, sometimes they'd put 5 bands on those bills,
That was at the Epicenter?
Yeah.
Oh wow. I would not
Yeah.
expect it to be there.
Yeah, because I think that room's only is maybe 450 or something like that for Mars Volta.
Yeah, it was such a weird venue. It was just like there was like a library in it or something, or
Yeah, there's like a little computer room.
that's why I was like, are we playing in just like a student center right now? Like, what is this? So that's weird. I just imagine that Mars Volta be playing in a club that would be basically just Soma. Like, I can't imagine them playing in some student center. That's crazy. So what happens between now and you guys put out another release after the Negative Progression release, right? On Accident Prone?
Yes. Oh, well, Accident Prone and Negative Progression. Accident Prone did the vinyl for our full length. So Seth didn't really do vinyl at the time, or it was just, it's really expensive. So yeah, Seth put out the CD for our full length, and then another label did the vinyl.
What's with the record name? It's very long.
We found, I think we were staying in Colorado. Virgil Dickerson, who runs Suburban Home, or maybe ran it. I don't know if it's still around anymore. He's a friend of Seth's. Maybe we're staying at his place or somebody's place, and they had this Japanese pachinko machine, like a pinball machine. And that was the name of the pinball machine.
Oh.
Was super amusement machine for your exciting heart. And we were like, that is We always had an affinity for super long names, long song titles, and stuff like that. It was just fun. So yeah, that's where that came from.
Yeah, I'm just like looking through your CDs now just to see if you did. Not really. I mean, your song name's like From Finish to Starting Line. I mean, is that a nod to Starting Line, the band?
It wasn't, but I do have something, an interesting thing about the starting line. We learned, maybe a year down the road that we had gotten a little bump thanks to their success. So thanks to Kenny Vasoli and all those guys, because in the LimeWire and like Napster days, I think somebody mislabeled an MP3, one of our MP3s as the starting line. And so then people would go and download that song thinking they were getting the starting line, but really it was our song and they would find us that way. But no, it was not intentional.
I was talking to someone recently, and they would purposefully do that with songs they would upload to LimeWire. They would give it a name of a bigger band, so they would get into people's collection, and then people would decide whether or not they liked it or not.
Pretty genius.
That was like a trick back then.
Hacking your way in.
Yeah, I mean, I was always mad when I would download something, and yeah, I was definitely a downloader. Like when I would use Kazaa or LimeWire, and I would download it, and it wouldn't be the band. I'm like, who is this? What is this shit? I would be so mad. So it kind of like had like a negative effect sometimes. So how does this start to wind down where you guys are like basically come to the end of the band?
Well, so there's a real there was so much tragedy with the band. Early tours, even early tours, you hear all the stories where people have their flat tires and their van difficulties or crashes or whatever. But we had a lot of bad luck, man, and it was pretty constant. And we were just weathering the storm. The first tour, we had this little conversion van that we just like sawed the feet off an armchair and stuck it in the back, and like we were kind of riding loose in there for the most part. It was super dangerous. And that van blew a tranny when we got to Boston, and we had that towed to Fenway Mobile, and we had to rent a van for the next two shows. We stopped at McDonald's. Our video camera got stolen. We went and we drove to Jersey to play the worst show in the world, and our next show got canceled, so we wasted that whole thing. My brother left two guitars in Virginia, and we ended up in Pennsylvania, and that's when we found out. And he's left-handed, so we tried to restring a righty upside down, and the intonation was fucked. And then we played the Middle East in Boston, and that was supposed to be like, we were really excited about that show. It was like a Saturday night or something. I remember my brother's guitar just being so badly out of tune the entire time. Things like that were just thing after thing after thing on those tours. After we recorded well, here's a really important story. When we recorded the full length, I listened to Chris Broach, his episode of your podcast, and there were so many common threads. Like we were always really rushed for recording. So when we got to this full length, we wanted to be able to take our time a little bit more and make something that we're really proud of. So we made this plan to actually go back to Connecticut, where my mom lived, and my stepfather at the time had a little studio, like a tiny little shack off the side of the house that had a little Pro Tools studio in it. So we made a plan to go back there and take our time and record. And so we did that, and the whole thing went off the rails. Like my drums got lost in the mail for a week and a half. And then the time that my stepfather took off to engineer got eaten up. We ran through the budget too quickly, and they wanted to get the second half of the budget, and things were sounding bad, so we decided to scrap it. So we recorded that album twice. I remember having to convince Seth. We went to his apartment. We listened through the sessions, and we were just begging him to let us do it over. And he was like, "We should record this, or we should release it as it is." And we were just begging him until he allowed us to start over. But there was no more budget at that point, so we recorded, I think, over the course of maybe 3 or 4 days for tracking and mixing. It was just crazy stuff like that was happening all the time. So to answer your initial question, sorry for the long-winded answer.
No, long-winded answers are great.
We basically like went back out on tour after that and just put our heads down, and it was just all effort, all the effort that we had in us to make it happen, get out there, because we just didn't have a lot of resources. So it was all just like large muscle groups, man, just keep going, keep going. By the time we got on that Finch tour, which is a whole other story in and of itself. I think that we were just really burnt out, and everybody's musical taste, especially Justin, the singers, was in a different place than where we were. On that last tour, our singer Justin had a heart attack on stage in Long Island.
Oh my
More like,
God.
I guess I should call it AFib. But
Fuck.
his heart started racing real crazy at the beginning of one of the songs, and he decided to keep playing, and he was out of breath, and then ended up going to the hospital, and he found out he has or had a heart condition called Wolff-Parkinson's White syndrome, and he had to get heart surgery in the middle of that tour.
Jeez.
And so at the time, I was playing drums for Finch as well, which we can circle back around to. So I was playing for both bands each night. And at that point, Justin has to get heart surgery, and I'm obligated to continue on playing with Finch, but obviously Counterfeit can't play. So the rest of the guys went to Indiana and just stayed at a friend's house while Justin's getting surgery. And then our guitar player, Dan, had to fly home for a family kind of emergency in that time as well. The guys waiting in Indiana were running out of money because we couldn't be playing shows. Soon the tour was going to be so far away that they couldn't catch back up with it. So I remember they met us in Canada, and with our merch guy and a guy who was shooting video on the tour, we put together like a last minute makeshift instrumental set for 3 or 4 shows or something in Canada. Dude, it was crazy. We were just trying to survive all the time. And
I guess I'm confused that you guys, they're going to go stay at some house in Indiana while Justin's getting heart surgery. It's not like he's going to just get out and be like, okay, let's get back on the road. Like, you need to rest.
well, so it was like yes, I mean, he turned it around in 11 days and joined the tour again,
Fuck.
which was amazing. He was amazing. Like, and it wasn't open heart surgery. It was like through whatever, they go in through your groin. But that being said, yeah, it's still it's still heart surgery.
Yeah.
So he was pretty amazing. After he had the incident, before he went into surgery, he played one more show, our kind of Connecticut home away from home show, which was awesome. Then he went in for surgery, and everybody kind of split up at that point, and then we got back together, I think in Massachusetts 11 days later, and finished the tour out. Yeah.
Two things there. One, did you feel that in the beginning of the band or on some tour you did something to hex the band?
I don't know what it is, man. We must have done something.
Because I'm just going to share a story that I asked this because our first tour, our drummer stole a Letters to Cleo tape from a music store. And soon after that, we were like, dude, that's bad luck. Soon after that, we just had bad luck forever. Well, like I haven't said that in a while, but we would blame it. We'd be like, dude, you stole that tape. Do you like, I don't know, some bands just are like, yeah, we actually did this one thing, and after that shit just went downhill all the time.
Oh man, I wish I knew. I really wish I knew.
That's fucking nuts. How did you get to play drums for Finch? Like, were you also doing double duty with other bands?
No. I, I'm trying to. I don't know if I'd ever met them. I saw Finch play when they came out with What It Is to Burn, and they were playing at the Warped Tour, and they were cool. But I was kind of like, this music is really poppy. Why are they screaming? I
I always thought the same thing, yeah.
was confused by like how happy the music sounded while they were screaming about it. That being said, their guitar player Randy had reached out to me. I don't know if you ever met him. He's super friendly.
I've heard about him.
high energy guy.
I've heard stories about him, and just like there's one story I cannot tell on this podcast, but it was very funny. He didn't do anything wrong, but he just said something really fucked up in a joking way, and I think it's hilarious. But there's no way I can say it on this podcast.
Oh God, yeah. He's a pretty no filter guy, but he's a very kind heart. And he reached out, I think, because he was a Counterfeit fan, and asked me. He said they were writing new songs, and maybe there was a mismatch with their drummer, and asked me if I'd come up and jam, which I did just for the heck of it, to play some music. And they asked me to join the band, and I declined because Counterfeit was my priority. And then they asked me if I would like write the record with them and record it in the studio. And so I agreed to that. And that was really just going to be a one-off kind of studio recording experience. And I told them that I couldn't tour, and when they wanted to tour, they would have to find a touring drummer. And then, of course, after I finished recording the drums, their management reached out right away and was like, "We want to go on tour." And I was like, "No." And they said, "What if we took out Counterfeit as an opener?" They basically just made us a really awesome deal that we couldn't refuse. It was like 2 of 4 spot with a guarantee that would keep us alive. And they also let us choose the first opener for like a quarter of the tour, which was really awesome. So we picked a friend's band to do that, this band First Aid Kit. Not the popular First Aid Kit these days, but there was this band from Connecticut called First Aid Kit. That was pretty awesome. And yeah, so that's how that all went down.
Well, it looks like after the band, I'm on Wikipedia, it looks like after the band you joined Finch for 2 years or a year and a half?
I did, yeah. So after Counterfeit broke up, then I became a touring member of Finch as well.
You were like, yeah, fuck it. I'm going for now I'm gonna be in your band.
Yeah, it was fun. And while the music on that second Finch album was a departure from dissimilar to anything I'd done before, I also was like kind of invested because I had a really enjoyable experience writing the album with them. So I was down at that point and I didn't have anything else going on. So yeah, those were cool 2 years. But
Did you feel like being in that band, and we'll get back to how you guys officially broke up, but like, do you feel like being in Finch gave you a different, like maybe more of a relaxed, what's the word I'm trying to say? Like a relaxed 2 years of being in a band instead of, because it's like you're in their band now, just filling a spot. You're almost like a hired gun kind of. Like, does it feel less pressure when you are that?
well, in some ways, it was super weird to go from, van touring, super DIY, to being in a bus. The whole schedule is constantly laid out. It's funny, I heard, going back to Chris Broach, talking about not having a manager in Braid and how it would have been nice for the manager to help them from burning out. I don't think that's the experience. I found that the management squeezes as much juice as they can out of that band. So we were out all the time and the schedules were super full. So it was hard work. And also at the point that I joined that band, they had their own internal growing pains and struggles personally. And so coming in, I was used to like being a pillar of positivity, or at least championing, like I wanted to be accessible with fans and talk to the people that wanted to talk to us and to follow through with our show obligations. But everybody's got a different idea of how bands should work, and I think a lot of the guys in that band were pretty stressed out or burnt out themselves. And so yeah, it was stressful in a different kind of way, but it was interesting to be part of a much bigger, well-oiled machine for sure.
I don't know if you played this show, but I saw them play in Asbury Park at the convention center, and I think it was, I don't know if it was Surf and Skate or it wasn't Bamboozle, but it was before, either it was Surf and Skate or it was before Surf and Skate, and it was right when Karaba got back to play. I think he was going to do vocals for Further Seems Forever for this particular show, and Finch played. I'm wondering if you were on that tour.
Ooh, I know we did Bamboozle in 2005.
Maybe it was Bamboozle. It was in the convention. Like, do you remember Asbury Park in New Jersey?
Yeah, it was in the convention center.
Yeah, it was like, and then I think Brand New was supposed to play, and they didn't. So Thrice played, and then they did a cover of a Brand New song because they couldn't be there to play.
All that sounds really familiar, but I'm not sure. It's quite possible we're thinking of the same show though.
Okay, because I remember for some reason Randy, he had like a sports jacket on, like a suit, a jacket, I think it was.
He definitely wore a blazer.
Yeah, blazer. And I remember just seeing, and I've talked about this before, I remember watching them. I never understood what the thing was with Finch. I just never got it. I was like that what it is to burn song, whatever. I was like, this is cool, but everyone just like lost their shit over that album, and I listened to it, and I was like, I just don't. It's just not my thing. But I remember watching them play, and he was just the singer was just like walking in a circle, kind of like stomping in a circle the whole time, almost like hunched over, and they really just seemed like they didn't want to be there the entire set. And it really just so I mean I wasn't really into the band to begin with, and then I really was not in the band after watching that. So when you were on tour with them, did you feel that they were giving it their all, or were they just like so burnt out that they just started to pull back and just stop giving a fuck?
Early on, right after recording the album, I think everybody was excited enough about the material and the new songs that it was great for a while. They didn't want to play songs from the first album, and I was constantly trying to go like, "Hey, let's play some of these songs. This is what you gotta, you can't just completely, turn your back on all the people that loved that first album." And it's like that. I think that record is like a gold record.
Yeah, something like
Pretty
that.
crazy.
Yeah. That's why people are going there to see them. You're like, we can't play all new stuff. No one cares.
I mean, yeah, the interesting thing is that if you think about it, I'm pretty sure they started that band and were on Drive Through, maybe when they were 18, 19. So you're kids and you're just not self-realized, and they were going through all those growing pains as well. I remember, Randy was into, Bjork and, way more artsy music and Tara Mellos and stuff like that. And then the other guys were coming from, heavier Deftones, and heavier type of music. So they just had an interesting, I think they were pulling apart musically in some ways and trying to figure that out, but also just burnout because they'd been grinding it out, playing those same songs for years and years and years, and just were tired of it. You have bands that have those big reactionary moves, like a total reactionary album, and I think that's what the second one was.
So to get back to Counterfeit, how do you guys finally disband?
So that Finch Recover tour was the last tour that we ever did.
And the last show was in Soma with them?
No, where was that? There was a place down, I think, in El Cajon called Ground Zero.
Okay, this is the one that's on YouTube then.
Yes, yeah, I think so. This awesome guy, Ben Thornley, flew all the way out from the UK to film that show, which was awesome. So I think that's the one that's up on YouTube, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, it says performs Better Late Than Never at Ground Zero in El Cajon, California, December 11th, 2004.
Yeah, so that was the last show right there. We had gotten home. I think the San Diego show, the homecoming show on that Finch tour was in September. At that point, we had, musically been making an effort to write much more democratically, and we were late in working on new material. Obviously towards the end of 2004, we hadn't put out that album in 2002. 2002, excuse me. And and we were trying to write together, and we were demoing 4 or 5 songs in the studio, and we just ended up having this big argument. And Justin, his musical taste had changed so much. He was like into country and Americana music at that point. And I think he just couldn't, he was so far away from what he was into and what he wanted to do that he had lost enthusiasm for it. We got together at the Ken Club for a beer and talked about it, and that was it. Everybody was just burnt.
You broke up at the Ken Club?
We did. We sat at a booth, had a beer, and decided to call it quits.
Was it the booths, like the velvet booths that they had in the bar area?
That sounds familiar, quite possibly.
Yeah, because there was the club, there was the stage area, which was more lit up, and then there was the bar area, which was really dark. And I remember they had these like purple velvet seats or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got so drunk there so many times. That was a cool bug. I can't believe you guys broke up there. That's so wild. So then you guys break up and you're like, let's just do one more show?
Yeah, we just wanted to show San Diego, give them a good show, and thank them for how good that whole scene had been to us over the years. So I think we did 2 sets in one night.
Damn.
At the Ground Zero. Yeah, it was awesome.
How big was Ground Zero?
A little bigger than the Epicenter. Might have been, I don't know, 500-600 or something like that.
Shit, that's crazy. So did you sell out both shows?
We did, but it was also, we shared the show with another band, and it was their farewell show as well. This Christian San Diego emo band called Noise Ratchet, and they had just become friends years back. I forget wasn't there like kind of a Christian-y emo label?
Tooth and Nail?
Yes, I think they might have been on Tooth and Nail or something.
Noise Ratchet. That sounds familiar. I don't know. Did you guys ever? This is so sad. Did you guys play with Prizefight? Not Prize Fighter.
Yes.
Not Prize Fighter
Yes.
with that. Prizefight with
Yes,
the Screamo band.
Steve and his brother.
Oh my God, they were
Tom.
so fucking great.
Awesome. We played a lot with Prizefight. Did you get into Hot Like a Robot? I saw them with Collab.
Hot Like a Robot. That sounds really familiar. I believe I did see them.
Another cool band. Yeah. I think we shared a practice space with Prizefight for a long time.
Because they had to change their name because of Prize Fighter, and it was like something with a C. I still have their CD. I have it.
Comfortable for you.
Comfortable for You. Oh my God. Dude, that first song on that CD is so great. The You've Got to Down Down. Did you ever hear that?
Oh yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God, they were so
yeah.
great.
Oh, I got to go back and listen to that. I'm making myself a note. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, that was a band where I was like, how did these guys never make it? They were just kind of stuck in San Diego. They were so great. Oh my God, it's so
Well,
crazy.
they were like into that noisier Drive Like Jehu proper San Diego thing, and I think the coolness of those bands in itself is limiting as far as your growth. And in this weird way, I was thinking about how we were on that Finch tour and playing these big rooms, and it was so fun and energetic. But when you're playing on a stage and you're 6 feet above everybody in the crowd or whatever, it felt a lot more like we were putting on a show. Like all of a sudden we felt like story of the year, like who's going to do a backflip. It felt really weird and disconnected. Whereas like playing those tiny venues like Che Cafe, you can move around like that and you feel like you're doing it with the people in the room when the energy is feeding when we're feeding off each other's energy. So, when I think of Prize Fight and I think of Jehu and I think of a lot of those awesome San Diego bands, I struggle to think of what it would be like to see them on a big stage. You know what I mean? It just seems like it doesn't fit.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, Rocket from the Crypt is from San Diego, and they would just control, but they're a different sound though.
Yeah, they were literally in my head while I was saying that, and I'm glad you mentioned it. There is something special about that band, with horns, and it was more of an experience.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, even as I'm saying, I was like, no, there's a difference because almost like the bands that you were just mentioned, they're kind of bands that you'd feel that they would be in their own, they'd be in their flow, I guess you could say, or their like, I think I'm gonna use that. Like they'd be in their own flow if they were in a room where four of them or five, how many in the band, just like in a circle, like facing each other and just working a song out where they're all in it. And it's almost like that's the kind of setting that they want to be in on stage, where they're not like you said, oh, I guess one of us needs to do a backflip right now because we're putting on a show for these people instead of like what we really want to be doing is just creating this sound and just have people around us.
There's something to that. I remember going when I was still in Connecticut, we would take the train into the city to this place, Coney Island High, and upstairs they would have shows, and you're on the floor all together. And I remember seeing the Dillinger Escape Plan there with Kid Dynamite, maybe. It was an awesome show. That felt fucking dangerous, man. I mean, like there was serious risk of being injured. I remember Ben Wyman hit the light bar off the ceiling and the whole thing came crashing down on the floor, and they were just like ended the set, packed up their shit and bailed out. Maybe they didn't want to pay for it or something. But yeah, I mean, there's something about that intimacy of more energetic or aggressive music where just that kind of punk hardcore experience, like when you pull away from it and it becomes more mainstream, it's just awkward. I don't know how to describe it more succinctly than awkward, but
No, I
it
think I
is.
think you're right. There's bands where you look at them and you think they would do great in a club setting, but they would not do good in a stadium setting. But then you see the different tiers in your brain on how between a club or like even a Legion Hall to a club to a bigger club to I don't even know what the next step would be to basically like whatever the steps are to an arena. And at some point you're like they at this level they it in my brain it doesn't seem like that would work. But then you think about but you like you said put on a show. The bigger you get, the bigger audience you have to put on a show because you're like little dots in the distance. But then you think like Green Day, that was a band where they could control a club and then I never thought as they got big that they could control a stadium and they became a stadium band, but they had to morph into that. Like originally, they weren't the way they play now was not how they played when they were starting off in clubs.
Right. I think there's definitely an adjustment to how you put on a show.
But it has to match though. It has to match the song, the music though. Like yeah, I don't know. What were you gonna say? I cut you off.
I have no idea.
I'm sorry. I was saying Green Day and
No,
like
no
how they
worries.
put on it. You're like they have to like morph into that or
Yeah, yeah. I notice a lot of bands, the bigger the show gets, maybe don't move around quite as much. I mean, I think there are a lot more people in attendance. You might feel the pressure to start concentrating on your playing accuracy more. You have a big sound system that works. You're not playing on somebody's PA that they brought from home or whatever. And so I think the pressure goes up to perform better as a musician as well. I don't know. I think about Fugazi, at the end of their live career, and I feel like they played like Roseland or something like that, didn't they? I feel like they played some giant shows, and I can't imagine what that must have been like.
Yeah, but they were a stage show. I mean, they like I wouldn't say accidentally, like they would just get up there and just let loose. So that would make sense. I mean, Guy or Guy, however you say it, I mean, he was just a spectacle in general. So that he could pull that off, I feel, because he was just nuts.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's individual to the band. Each band is such a stew of influences and life experience and stuff. All I know is that for us, where we were musically, with where we were with our musical career, if you can call it that, and our influences, those things just were never quite in alignment. And I think that's what it takes. Is like at some point you really need to come together as a band and align on your voice and your vision for where you want to be. Yeah, that was always a challenge for us. We were always just kind of moving at different paces, and that's what happened.
Yeah, no one tells a band that when they start, because like at the same time, if you're 16 or you're a teenager, you don't really want to hear that from certain people. They're like, I'm just gonna play music, we're gonna get big. You can't really. Some bands get that at an early age, where they're going, we are on a mission to do this. This is what our view. This is our goal, and we're doing things that are gonna get us to that goal. And other bands are like, we're gonna play cool music, and you're kind of like I mean, you know this too as a designer in marketing yourself. You can't really just say, I'm gonna put out cool shit and people are gonna find me, unless you're Obey or some street artist or someone who's actually does put out some cool shit and they get found. Like you have to be really good as in like what are you defining as your style or you're really good at, and then you're like, I'm gonna go in this direction and I have to go after it to sustain this thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, but you do marketing work as well, something like that?
I do animation explainer videos,
Oh, awesome.
but I used to
Awesome.
do design work and I still do design stuff. But I mean, I'm basically saying this about myself. When I started, I've been freelancing for almost 2 decades, and when I started, I was on an agent. I was freelancing at an agency for years, and when I was on my own, I was like, oh, I'll just do everything, and I'll just make cool stuff because I'm bringing what I have to the table, and it was just crickets. I was like, okay, I got to really readjust this because it's not working. But my mission was, I'm never fucking working for anyone again, and that was strong enough for me to figure out how I was going to make that work.
I was going to say, when you're with respect to design and maybe a brand, which each band kind of has, like unknowingly, I think the bands that are able to be conscious of that like, okay, there's a big picture here. Let's actually play a role in designing that ourselves, or really leaning into what makes us special. And it's kind of hard to be self-aware about that type of thing, especially at that age. But I would see bands do it. I would see bands show up and they'd be like, hey, no house lights, please, tonight. And they'd like bring lamps up on the stage and create their own little environment. And I was like, shit, that's awesome. Those bands that were aware of, things like image, sound, voice, knowing what to say no to, that's a big one. Getting opportunities and realizing that every opportunity isn't the right fit for you. And in fact, if you take this what seemingly great opportunity that isn't quite the right fit for you, you might get a lot more of that same type of opportunity. And then all of a sudden you're playing in a scene that doesn't fit. I think that is partially where we found ourselves as well.
So before I wrap this up, I started asking this question recently. Is there a story that you've always wanted to tell that you've never told before in an interview that you'd like to tell now?
Let's see, which one?
Oh, which one? I think I did email this to you that I was going to ask you this.
Oh no, you didn't.
Oh, it was someone else.
But after going down memory lane, there's so many. I suppose one big one was during that Finch and Counterfeit tour. There was a day when Finch was slated to play the Rolling Rock Festival, or I think it was called the Rolling Rock Town Fair, and Counterfeit had the day off. So I went along with Finch to, I don't know, Pennsylvania or wherever it was. Yeah, I think in Philly. And it was like this big bill of new metal bands. And we got there, and all of a sudden, the guys in Finch were acting really nervous while we were on the bus. And I asked why, and they said, because Disturbed was there. And I learned then, they explained to me that, like, over the course of doing like radio interviews and stuff, they had publicly talked a bunch of shit about Disturbed.
Finch did.
Yes.
I can't wait.
And so they're hiding in the bus the whole time, and I'm like, don't worry about it, you guys. Like, it's a giant stage, you know, they're not going to bother you, whatever. But then okay, so it's a giant stage that actually has a wall in the middle and rotates 180 degrees after the last band finishes. So you do a quiet line check on the backside, and then that band finishes their last note, and then the whole thing starts rotating around. And so we're back there line checking, and I see a couple of the guys from Disturbed standing side stage. The singer, the singer, he has like this crazy husky on a leash that looks like a wolf, and he's staring at us all super menacingly. And I'm like, oh God, what's going to happen? So we're in place. The stage starts rotating, and Randy, I think, who is mainly the shit talking voice again, you know, putting his foot in his mouth, he walks over to the singer, David Draymond of Disturbed, and extends his hand while saying like, hey man, I'm sorry, something like that. And the guy grabs his hand and choke slams him on the stage. And so we're rotating. We're now 90 degrees to the crowd. I'm looking over my right shoulder at this sea of people as a gigantic brawl breaks out on the stage. It was like just a couple guys from Disturbed and maybe roadies or techs of theirs that get into a full fist fighting brawl with Randy, the guitar player. Alex runs over. At one point, Randy hit one of the guys in the head with his guitar. It was fucking mayhem on stage.
Holy shit.
And security breaks the entire thing up, and all of a sudden we're facing the crowd. They clear the stage, and then they're like, play your set. And so the crowd obviously is way more pumped on Disturbed than Finch. They probably don't know who Finch fucking is. And they're booing and they're throwing mud. And then we have to play this like kind of prog, I don't even know what the hell to call the music from the second record, but it was not up any of their alley. We play our set, and as we're playing, I see all sorts of scary looking dudes gathering stage right. And so there's like, you know, and they're all just staring at us like they're going to beat the shit out of us right when we finish the last song. And I remember the bass player, Derek, turning around at me. It looked like he had tears in his eyes. He's going like, shit, what are we going to do? And so basically a wall of security forms in front of those guys to create a barrier for us. We finish the last note. They rush us off stage left. We're kind of jogging down the line of the buses. And I see a guy standing at the front of the bus, like holding the front door open for us, but like putting his body weight into it. Like he's holding it back from other people on the other side. So we run up on the bus, and I look out the front bus windows, and there's like a shit ton of guys, maybe 20 people trying to get at us in the bus. They threw a rock and broke the front window of the bus. The promoter rushes on the bus, hands us a check, and says, you guys need to get out of here. I have a police escort for you. I can't protect you. You got to go.
Oh my God.
So the bus is leaving with police cars in front and back. Those guys are running along the side of the bus, screaming, wait till you get to Texas. Vinnie Paul's going to kill you from Pantera. Like they were talking about how they were going to get friends to beat the shit out of us. Dude, it was crazy.
Oh my God. That's fucking nuts.
It was nuts. I was standing in there going like, I'm not in this band, man. I don't know what they said. Fuck. It was crazy.
Holy shit. Like, what did you guys say to each other on the bus when you're driving away? Like, was anyone like, fuck those guys? They were like, oh my God, I'm never talking shit again like that.
Yeah, more like the latter. I think mostly people were quiet and shitting in their pants. I think a couple of the guys were really worried about future shows, that like these guys were going to send, some friends or lackeys to the shows, and we were going to run into that for the rest of the tour. But fortunately, that wasn't the case.
Did you guys actually encounter Vinnie Paul from Pantera at the next thing?
No,
Okay.
no, fortunately not.
That would have been scary as shit. I wouldn't want to fuck with any of the Pantera guys.
Yes, it would have. Yes, it was a solid threat. So that's, I think, probably what we were discussing when we were leaving. Like, should we not go to Texas?
That's one of the best stories that has been told on this podcast. That is
Oh, right
incredible.
on.
Wow. Holy shit. I mean, they're all really good and I'm always surprised, I never know what someone's going to say and I'm always just blown away by the story. I'm like, I was not expecting that every single time, but that one's crazy. Actually, there's like a theme happening right now because when this comes out, the Gadgets one I think will be 3 before this, and they talk about a brawl that they got in when they were playing with the Boss Tones up at this club in Canada, where the whole place just started beating the shit out of each other, and like
Oh my
bottles were like
gosh.
cracked over people's heads and shit. Yeah, it's a wild story. So there must be something in the air currently with the interviews I'm doing with just brawls, battles happening. Holy shit. Well, cool, man. So I'm going to wrap this up with 2 questions. Before I ask the last question, what would you like to plug? It could be about you. It could be about something cool a friend's doing. It could be about both.
Oh, shoot. I'm trying to think of friends that I can plug because I don't have a lot going on right now. I am writing and recording a lot of music, but I just don't know what I'm going to call it yet. My brother and I did have a band after Counterfeit in a similar vein called Helen Earth Band. That's Helen Earth Band. I'll plug Weatherbox. I played in this cool San Diego band called Weatherbox. I played drums for about a year, and they're an awesome band. I'd recommend checking them out if you haven't heard them. And then I guess the only other thing is I did a little EP with some friends, a COVID EP, like probably a lot of people did, and that's called Banner Year under the artist name Trades.
2 things real fast I want to kind of plug for you. And before I just found out I did have another question. You guys did a 2020 YouTube streaming thing, like of you guys playing.
We did? No.
No, it's not you guys. I'm pretty sure it was you. It was like you guys were doing it from home and spliced all the videos together.
What am I not remembering? Are you talking about Counterfeit?
Yeah. Let me see. I just found it before we started talking. Counterfeit band. Let me see. Let's see. Feel the Ride. There's a video for that. Oh yeah. 12/07/2020 Counterfeit from finish to starting line quarantine collab.
Oh,
I was gonna say I was
those
like
are
I'm
some.
gonna feel really bad if
Got it. So that's some other San Diego friends covering a Counterfeit song.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I was like are they like a young band?
Not really. I'm
Okay, because
searching for
I
it
was like
right
looking,
now
I was
here.
like, wow, you guys aged really well. Because you guys are like, they looked younger, and I was like, dude, wow, for you guys being in, I'm guessing in your 40s probably or late 30s. I was like, well done. But yeah, it's Counterfeit from Finish to Starting Line, Quarantine Collab, remote collaboration cover from Finish to Starting Line by Counterfeit. Everyone in this video spent a lot of time, blah 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 blah. Friends back in the day, edited mix. It doesn't say the band. I don't know the band
Hmm.
name. It's and like the channel it's uploaded to is OGVBT3, which gives me absolutely
Oh,
nothing.
yes. That's mostly guys from the San Diego band called Spare Change. And they were just a band that we played with a bunch of times. I think they also did like a Jimmy Eat World cover.
Yeah, I see that
Um,
on the video.
but yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. That was cool they did that.
Okay. I felt I was gonna be like, I was like, oh my God, they did this without you knowing, and I just told you about it. Like meaning like your band got together and did this, like when they left you out, and you're like, wait a minute, now I'm finding this out now. But thankfully that wasn't the case. That's funny. Another thing to plug too. What's your design company? Like, what's the website to check out?
It's marcallen.design. So if you need some branding work, marcallen.design.
All right, cool. I'll put a link to that. Before I ask the last question, this one was just super random and it's breaking away from this ending part. But there's in Inner Punk, it says you guys were supposed to release a DVD. It says, let's see, I found the fuck, I just lost it. Inner Punk Counterfeit. Let's see.
Yes.
Yeah, what was the DVD you guys were supposed to release and did it ever come out?
Yes. I did that all myself. I don't know if many people found out about it. And I released it so late. It was like 2007 or something like that. But yeah, where can you find it? There is a DVD, not that any computer has a DVD player anymore. um, so I am thinking about just putting the whole thing up on YouTube eventually, and I'll let you know if I do that because I just had a friend rip it for me. But there's like a full-on movie, and it covers that on stage brawl thing and the heart surgery and all that stuff. There's like a full film and then a bunch of live songs and various sets and stuff.
Do you guys have an Instagram?
I don't think we do anymore. No.
Okay, because I have one with my old band, and I've found it's like super fun because I'll just find random photos from back in the day and post it. But one thing, I found old footage of a documentary we were trying to do, and it doesn't really all flow as a story. So I've been taking clips of it and putting it on the Instagram account where it's kind of just it's releasing some of it, but maybe that might be something if you did do an Instagram, just post old pictures and things, but you can have clips from the DVD so it could send it to like a YouTube channel if you really wanted to do all that shit.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I should do that. So I don't forget, I'm going to check this. Oh, yeah, you can get the DVD via Youth Conspiracy Records. It's youthconspiracy.bigcartel.com. And the DVD is called Managing the Details of an Undertaking, another long title.
Perfect. Sounds very on brand for you.
Yeah.
Cool, man. All right, so last question. What scene ethics do you hold on to this day?
Oh, man. A lot of it. That whole DIY ethic, but, anti-otherism, pro-equity, my general misalignment with mainstream culture, all of those things I still carry to this day.